Tell us something about Mike Tyson that's not apparent to all the fans that watch him.
He's brilliant. He has tremendous recall. He's a historian of all kinds of world affairs. He has tattoos on each shoulder, one of the great Arthur Ashe in Days of Grace, the other of Chairman Mao. He can recite the tenets of the Red Book. He can give you scriptures. He can tell you about Napoleon, Alexander. He has a high degree of intellect, and he has the wherewithal and recall that's astonishing. He's also capable of doing tremendously unpredictable, despicable acts. At least he was. And you just never know what's coming. So it's really been so interesting and so much fun to cover him, because you just don't know from moment to moment what's coming next. You have no idea.
Yeah, I think what strikes me about him, and I don't know him well, I certainly don't know him as well as you do, but his pride as a father. He has a daughter, as you know, that's a very accomplished tennis player. And he has tremendous pride and such respect for her as a young woman. And given his history with the domestic violence and all, and then to see such great respect that he has for his young daughter is really a contrast.
You know, it really is. And he never ceases to amaze me. And I'm sure with how you've gotten to know him, he's so honest. And, you know, we just don't have that in sports or in life anymore. He will tell you how he feels at the moment, and he will be explicit about exactly where he is and where he stands. When he bit the ear off, he came out and he answered the questions. He didn't say, a lawyer will handle it. I'll hide behind a PR statement. I can't do it until the Nevada State Athletic Commission decides if they're going to pay me. He answered the questions. When he came out of jail, he stood there and let me do the first interview. And he took his medicine, and he didn't try and say it was my trainer's fault or my manager's fault or my equipment was bad. Whatever it was, even when it was awful, he was there to answer the questions. Nobody does that. Nobody anymore does that. When something bad happens to somebody, you know, they hide behind one of these telephones, or they have somebody issue a statement, or they release a lawyer says we can't talk about it. There's a pending court date. So I've always respected the fact that he was willing to do that. And no matter what the circumstance was, I just recently asked him about that, Dr. Phil. I said, why did you do that? He said, because no one was going to take my glory. I said, but those weren't glorious achievements. And he said, they were mine. And that was my glory, even when it was bad.
Yeah, you know, he came from such a troubled childhood and such a troubled background that he truly believes when he fights. He's told me straight up that he believes when he fights, he's fighting for survival to him. And so it's just a different yardstick that he measures what he uses to justify what he does. And I don't know that he's still that way, but what did you think about his recent fight?
I thought it was great. I thought it was great for Mike. I was happy that there were so many people who paid to view it. So it was a huge payday for him. I thought that in terms of how he fought at 54 years of age, it was very representative. He lost 100 pounds. He was in terrific shape. He did very, very well. He can continue that. There will be an appetite for more of that because of the way that he performed. And Roy Jones Jr. acquitted himself as well. Mike, I don't think that Mike tried to hurt Roy Jones. You know, he didn't try to hit him in the head. Now he hit him, like Snoop Dogg said on the air that night. He was one of the commentators with us. He said, put a little spice on those ribs, please, Mr. Tyson. And I think that Roy Jones Jr. did get caught with some, but I think Mike did very well. And it was fun to see him. You know, there's a whole couple of generations now that haven't seen Mike fight. I mean, he hadn't been in the ring for 15 years and hadn't fought a meaningful fight for 20 years. So that's, you know, that's quite a long time.
I thought Mike was very gracious afterwards, and I thought Roy Jones Jr. was too. I thought they were both very gracious afterwards.
Yeah, Mike said to me, I did that interview, Mike said to me, why don't you care about my rear end? And I said, well, everybody's worried about him getting hurt. Why don't you care about it? I said, well, nobody thinks a giant can get hurt, and you're the giant here.
Yeah, because you weren't in the ring with Mike Tyson. That's why nobody's worried about your rear end.